And so he hit me up and said, I want you to curate the show and moderate the artist talks. And so that's how I got involved with the help of Noah Smalls, who's incredible at curating. I'm learning an awful lot. Um, Chuck, I have not met in person yet, but he has been a very, very active member in our Black Abstract Artist Group, which was started and created by Chris Van Loan out of Texas, who felt that Black abstract artists needed their own platform specifically for Black artists. So these particular works that we selected were all based on the regular 6 elements of a good abstract piece of art. And that includes colors, of course, which is always the first thing that reels me in. We have the colors, value, we have the shapes, of course, and textures. So all of these works represent everything that makes a good piece of abstract art. So since I began curating, I've learned how to pull these different elements. One piece may not have all 6, one piece may have 4, but together they absolutely come together to make all those 6 elements work. These artists, these guys have completely different techniques, but the work was extremely complementary to each other, which was absolutely amazing. Once the work got laid out, everything was just cohesive. It flowed together, and it was just a magnificent nonverbal story that was told with this work. So these guys are most definitely awesome to me. They're not related by blood, but most definitely brothers in art. And so first off, I want to introduce Al Johnson. Al Johnson's work, as he's labeled as intuitive abstract art. So let's talk about that, Al. What do you mean by intuitive abstract?
Well, the discussion based on intuitive means that it starts off with an intention to basically start with a mark and build the marks, continuing totally without a mission. The only mission is to create marks that correspond or relate to the next mark. There's always going to be a response from the first mark. And, the way I usually work is I work on multiple surfaces at one time, meaning that I will start making these marks, strokes. I'm always thinking about, I'm not thinking about the composition until, like the second or third day that I come back to it, because I feel that, it's a start of a conversation from one piece to another. So each piece will sometimes have something that relates to the other, but it could be a color, it could be a shape, it could also be just the format of the composition. So that makes it easier for me because for abstraction work, after spending almost 40 years of my life as a commercial artist, getting into other people's heads to find out if this is to make this work for them, I started doing my own abstract work many, many years ago. And I just figured, okay, so these pieces, will generate a body of work. And that became my system on how I applied to creating, this thing which we call intuitive abstraction. Sometimes my titles usually come after, but sometimes I may have a title of a piece that I want to do, in front, and that is the inspirational part. That's where I can kind of like formalize how I'm going to use the overall what I'm looking for in the composition. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
That actually opens me up to another question. Have you had any other jobs or careers outside of art, or have you always known that this is what you wanted to do? And have you tried any other mediums, and what other types of work do you do?
Well, the funny thing is like, um, I've always been an artist, even when I was, like as early as like, I don't know, 8, 9 years old. The way my parents brought us up, and there were 8 of us, was to find a way to keep yourself occupied and doing something. So there was no such thing as like sitting around being on a computer. Right. It was like, get out, go on outside, and I would find a stick to play with. If there was nobody else outside, I'd be out there and playing in the dirt. I'm saying, yo, this is my surface right here. And I'll find a stick, and I may use a stick for a sword for 1 minute, and the next minute I'm using it to, actually, carve out something in the dirt.
Right. So do you think I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry.
But in terms of my career, I started off as a sketch artist, and I explored all different types of medias because I was looking for work. Mm-hmm. So some cases, like I think I was 14 years old, and I was introduced to a man who was a courtroom artist, and his name was Maurice McCaddy. Mm-hmm. And Maurice became my mentor. By the time I was 20, 21, 22 years old, I had occupied a space in a studio where there were a group of different artists in that same studio. So I had this little space, this little 3x6 spot. It was cool though, because when I look back now, there is where I began to understand the actual responsibility of being an artist. Okay. Like there were deadlines. Like sometime I would get a call and someone would need some sketches done, and they want to present this the next following day. So what does that mean?
You need to produce.
I got, it's 5 o'clock and I got to stay up all night until this thing is done for them. So I did get a chance to work, as I said, in advertising, but there were so many different areas.
Okay.
So most of my jobs have been art related from the time I was 21. There were a couple of little things, like I I remember once I took a summer job working as working for Restaurants Associates. And that meant being at big tennis matches, tennis situations, and I was in the catering business. Let's put it like that. But I'm working. You know what I mean? Right. But then I would turn around, and next thing I know, there was going to be something has always led me back to doing my artwork. Mm-hmm. And so that's why, like I just said, you know what, this is, if it doesn't fit, it does, you must quit. You know what I'm saying? So you keep going. Johnny. You gotta keep going. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's another person that inspired me over life. But that's for another Zoom call.
Right. Just quickly, just from us having our conversations over the years and doing some research on you, let's talk about your international experiences and how did that work out for you? How did you get into that?
Well, the social media linked us together with people from all the way around the world. Mm-hmm. All right. And I was invited by someone who kind of like she started off as a collector, and then she became an agent.
Ooh, nice.
And this is a woman who is in France. And she introduced me to other people through this social media, And before I knew it, I'm talking to the Minister of Culture in France, and he invited me and another artist to come there to do a residency and an exhibition. So that was the European experience. And then once I was invited by the Yamaguchis, it's a family in Japan, who insisted that that I be part of a group show at the Tokyo Metropolitan Museum.
Okay.
And so I went to Japan. So basically, I mean, I'm happy to be at the point where I am, even, with all the struggles and the strifes that come with being an artist. I'm happy to be where I am right now and confident that I can, make each motion that I go through in life. It's got to be connected to my art as well as me being connected to something that is creative. Yeah.
Now, I know you said you had to dip off a little earlier. Do you have like a few more minutes to kind of hang around? Because I want to do some questions with you and Femi together.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
I'll stick with you. And I'm gonna turn my mic. All right.
Okay. One more quick question though. What do you have currently going on, or any future projects?
All right. I am an artist who is a teaching artist at the Banana Factory in Pennsylvania, in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So
Okay.
out of the Banana Factory, I'm approached by all kinds of situations. So what I got going on right now is I have an exhibition that is in California, in Oakland, California. I had the show, of course, at the Rush Arts Gallery in Philly. And I also have a show going on currently in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And one more, there's a show I'm with Art on the Avenue, which is in New York. So to make a long story short, I had 4 shows simultaneously going on totally between January and February, and they're still going. they're still
That's
going.
awesome.
So,
Nice.
it's a juggling act. I get it. It's like
it really is.
it's like you have to respond to the calling, and I thought I knew. And here I go again. I'm thinking. I thought I knew that I said this year I am not looking forward. I'm not doing any shows during the wintertime. The only thing I had lined up 6 months ago was the show at Rush, the Brothers Johnson show. So I was like, okay. But in the meantime, while I was, getting things sorted out for it, these other events fell into place, and they were, opposite weekends or opposite weeks. And so here I am. I mean,
Nice.
I'm happy and I'm joyful to be free.
Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure of seeing you at the show you did here at the Irwin House. So that was most definitely a pleasure.
Oh,
you
yeah. Wow. I forgot about that. That's
yeah. So that was a nice plug.
Okay.
So drum roll, please. Next up, we have Femi J.Johnson, based out of Allentown. Better known to me as just simply Femi J. Had the pleasure of meeting this guy at Rush Arts, like I said, back in 19. Fell in love with the smoothness, and the colors are just so magnificent. Tell us about your work a little bit, Femi, and your technique.
Well, I've coined my technique. What I call it is abstract storyscapes. Because I never know what a painting is going to be when I start it, and I very seldom know what it's going to be until it's at least like 3/4 of the way done.
Mm-hmm.
So I call them abstract storyscapes because of the energy that I put into it. I populate it with colors, and sometimes spiritually wise, those colors represent people. or population, or even the spaces and shapes and some of the lines, can represent, scenery. But it's not. It's just like just like energy.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like I've done some realistic work in the past. So what I like to do is like I relate it to realistic work is we're representing nature, beautifully representing nature in whatever form you want to do it. When I'm doing abstract work, it's like I'm representing the forces of nature.
Nice.
So when I'm splashing colors on there, it could be, energy from the sky gods. When I'm putting certain colors on there, it could be, energy from the iron gods from the earth, representing work. So it's all in the feeling. So when a composition comes together, it's telling like a story or a place to be or a way to like shift consciousness to see how it speaks to you or a way to relate to it, and to me, it's just a chapter.
Yeah, well, actually, let's go ahead and can we get an image of Femi's work? I'm gonna reverse the order a little bit. Since he's talking about the work, we might as well put it up while he's talking about it. Bear with us, folks. But in the meantime, while we're getting the image of your work, Femi, have you held any other jobs outside of the art world?
Have I held any other jobs? Yeah. Well, I must say that I was fortunate enough when I was younger. When I was in junior high and high school, I majored in art.
Oh, okay.
So the last couple periods of every day for 4 years, from 9th grade through 12th grade, was an hour and a half or so of art class. For 4 years. So that's where I got all my basic techniques and information, instruction on a lot of different materials. So after that, I went to art school at community college because it was closer. I was actually accepted to like 3 art schools, but I went to one closer because I started making babies when I was young, so I had to do that. But before that, I grew up in a family of singers, and I couldn't sing. So I discovered when I was real young that I could draw. So I always had a pencil in my hand or a click pen, in my hand. So when they called me Johnny Windnote, I said, well, at least I can draw, at least I can draw. So, but while I was doing all of that, I was drawing portraits.
Okay.
Pencil and charcoal portraits. I was doing that, because I was good at it.
So do you find that you have more freedom with doing abstract work as far as creative freedom?
Yes, I do, because when I'm drawing a portrait or something, I know what it's going to be, which is fine, and for me, the hard part of that is like I became a perfectionist at it. So so I would draw like photorealistic portraits, after a while. So it became more of like, with the drafting, I knew what I was going to do. I was going to make a blueprints, so somebody could build a freaking house or something, Right. So with the drawing and stuff, it was like I knew what the end piece was going to be, and I knew I could do it, and it was nice. So for me personally, that wasn't enough. So I just started, when I went back to school, I just started my use of colors, started, going back and looking at some other artists that I like, and things like that. So I really developed from that. There is where I developed my own style of work, my own style of abstract, and it began with breaking the rules.
Absolutely, because they are made to be broken. Are there any other artists that you find that you gain any type of creative inspiration from?
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm usually looking at an artist that is like, like alive, and an artist that's dead.
Okay.
So I've been looking, lately I've been looking at Norman Lewis's stuff, some Cy Toomey stuff, and some alive artists. I really like this one artist, this dude from Chicago, like a Wesley Kemmler, You know what I mean? And I look at a lot of local artists too work. You know what I mean? Because I like supporting a lot of local artists. So I look at a lot of people's work, except for when I'm working. I don't look at a lot of stuff when I'm actually into it. You know.
Yeah.
I don't look at when I'm into it, but when I'm supporting other artists, or when I'm really like researching some stuff, I'll look at some other people.
What has been one of your biggest challenges as an abstract artist? And how did you combat that challenge?
Wow, Dawn.
I'm hitting them hard today. I'm hitting them hard.
Well, I would say like maybe about 15 years ago or so, I think my biggest challenge was developing that first body of work.
Okay.
Developing that first body of work and taking a risk, and taking risks to do what my head says, or to do what the picture is actually going, calling for, and not worrying about what I think or anybody thinks, says, or does. Just do what you feel. To do what you feel. And I think is like the biggest risk. I think that is the biggest thing for me. Doing abstract work it's not like automatic writing or stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because half the time I'm just like looking and saying, okay, what do we do next? Because it's that conversation. That's why I'm working on multiple pieces at one time, because one piece might stop talking for a while. And I don't believe in artist block. Really, I don't, because it's always like something to do. Maybe it's that color that I got a problem with, so I'll mix another color, and work on something else. So I would say the biggest challenge for me is I had to stop looking for inspiration. I just got to like drag myself into the studio and do, no matter what. Well,
that's excellent advice for me, because I've been struggling for a minute with a creative block per se. So, and like you, I was looking for that muse, and forget looking for it, you still have work to do, whether you find the muse or not. So I should have called you when I was having these troubles. So that's excellent advice. Excellent advice.
You can call me anytime, though. You can call me anytime.
I appreciate it.
Because mostly my inspiration comes from there's an aspect to my work that I call the addition of Neo-African spirituality. Because it comes out in some of the shapes and some of the feel and some of the energy that I put into it. Because about 20 years ago, I became a Yoruba priest. So that's where. Okay. So that's actually where Femi came from. And a lot of my what was inside of me opened up. That's actually when another time when I really started doing abstract work. So that part is always there. And I learned over the years that my meaning, which is, I think that is why we do art as artists, because it has to do with our meaning. And if I'm not doing it, there's something else self-destructive probably going on.
Right.
So I learned that my practice wasn't really with, like the spiritual community. The practice was to heal myself emotionally inside and put that into my artwork. So that's the element that I put into my work that keeps me going.
Nice. Al, same kind of question. I know you have a beautiful grandson. How has that, having a new addition, has that impacted your work at all? As far as the creativity, just watching them grow and the little things that the little kids do, and has that caused an impact to your work at all?
Yes and no. Well, I'll just say yes in the fact that, I'm learning still how to carve out, what's business time, what's family time, and which one is dearest to my heart or needed right away. right immediately. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, my grandson, he's quite a human being, really. He is. But you know, when we're together, he's constantly working with his hands. He's constantly doing things with his hands. So I'm always guiding him into like, okay, this is how we do this. Like, for instance, his mom would be sitting on the couch, and I say, you know, I'm gonna lift up mommy's feet, and I'm gonna start rubbing mommy's feet like this. All right, and guess what? That's what he does. He you know, he's there trying to rub mommy's feet. That's his way of, like, you know, conning her from yelling at him or telling him to do something. But it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. Carving out the time between the freedom from doing the art. Now, you know, that's Femi said a lot of good stuff that I wanted to respond to.
Okay.
It is truly like it has the part that drives us, or drives me. Let's keep it on me for the moment. What drives me to work and be to stay inspired is that one, I know that my solution, you know, like my job will be to solve something, and I have a certain amount of time that it can be done. I don't want to force it out unless, you know, like, even getting into my studio 90% of the time, some days 90% of the time, I'm just sitting there and staring into each panel, into each surface. Only 10% is execution.
Okay.
All right. I may take a piece and turn it upside down, turn it around till it starts to make sense to me. And what I mean by making sense is there are things that occur in intuitiveness, an action needs to have a reaction as well, and a response from what is there. It's pertinent to me. All right. So, in balancing things out at the end of the day, and how do I get to the end of the day? You know, my real ambition is to do something that's minimal. I feel like minimalism is so difficult. It is like hard to keep the composure together so that you don't overwork something. I have seen artwork that is totally overworked. It's totally overstated. I see it even in music. I see it in all different forms of media. And so what my objective is like, get the balance, keep it all balanced. I'm not trying to relate to everybody. I just want to relate to me first.
Absolutely.
And then when it starts making sense to me, then I say, all right, I'm rolling with this. I'm rolling with this. And then that's when I sign it. That's when I'm totally committed to knowing that all the things that I was searching for in the beginning, whatever came to fruition is what we got at the end of the day.
Right. Before I switch over to Chuck, hey Chuck, welcome.
Chuck.
Let's talk about your piece, Patience Under Fire, which is actually one of my favorite pieces in the show. Tell us a little bit about what this means and how you felt, because to me, art is most definitely more of a feeling than a thought. Okay. Let's talk about this a little bit.
Okay, so here it is. All right. Most of my work normally starts off in a square format. Vertical formats and horizontal formats, you know, involve a lot of, for me, I have to think through where the point of interest is, or where it should be in this painting.
Okay.
And so the thoughts that were going through my mind with this was, I wasn't sure whether I wanted this piece to go vertical or I wanted to go horizontal.
Okay.
And so with that challenge means that if you don't know, and you know, you need to know, give yourself, I give myself time to resolve this. And that truly comes from a belief in what I'm trying to execute here. There may not be a need for another statement, but whatever it is, because I remember exactly when I was creating this piece, my mind was definitely on the fact that I knew I had a curator coming the next following day to select 12 pieces from me, which he had already done on Facebook. But this one, I wanted to fit this one in because mostly all of the work was on a square format.
Okay.
And this one, I said, you know, since I already had another piece that was also vertical, I needed one more, just as a cornering piece, like to say that, look, you got eight squares and two triangular, verticals, and this is how we do the bookends. You know what I mean? I'm thinking ahead, but the Patience Under Fire was the just right, appropriate title, because at this time, I'm still studying that.
Okay.
But that that is the title of that piece, and that was what was on my mind, because there was something else I wanted to do in there. I wanted to bring out. I wanted to use some colors that was striking, but the balance for me was to have some warmth and some cool. When I want to warm up a painting, I need to have a way to cool it down as well.
Okay.
So there's a balance. Who's going to take charge over the whole thing? Like, who's going to be the most dominant in the equation?
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Depends on what I'm working, because all of my colors, I'm constantly mixing colors, and I'm trying to find colors that not everybody uses all the time. Now, in this case, on this piece, Patience Under Fire, there was that mixture, of that juggling act, as I call it, making all of those elements work. Not only the shapes, but we're thinking about the colors, what's warm and what's cool. Bringing temperature into the conversation doesn't hurt ever.
Absolutely. Fantastic piece. Like I said, most definitely my favorite out of the show. All right, Femi, let's talk about this piece here, Ancient Presence. Well, second line on high. This is my favorite from your work in the show. Excellent piece. I love the colors, as Al was talking about, the warm and the cool. Great use of colors. Your colors actually look very creamy, for lack of a better term. Do you use acrylic or are you using oil?
I paint mostly in acrylic, but I don't use water.
Okay.
So I like to keep it like nice and buttery,
That's because when I look at it, I just instantly think smooth, and butter is smooth, and it's just very creamy, and your textures are just amazing. What is the inspiration or the influence for second line on high?
Well, for this piece, like I said, I never know what a piece is going to be when I start it. So I generally say that for a palette, for me, from my perspective, you mix any three colors, there's a palette to start a painting, and as I go along, I will introduce other colors, because it's a call and response thing, It's a call and response thing, with a lot of different techniques and a lot of different perspectives. So with this piece here, I started off with the background colors. I just mix some colors, and I think I added some markings in there, and the one section there that looks like a white block. There's I have like sketchbooks of drawings that I call marks of existence, you know. And so because I really like to go for variety of mark. So I record marks all the time, you know, different marks and shapes according to how I feel, or just to escape the day. I just mark things, you know, and I draw from that and add it into my paintings. So then I start adding shapes and colors. You know, I populated with shapes and colors, and there's very few colors I ever use right out of the tube. I love mixing colors and coming up with, you know, colors for the paintings, for specific paintings. I don't use formulas. I just like mixed colors by eye.
The movement is fantastic in this piece. I'm a fan. I mean, like I told you guys, all three of you, I'm most definitely a fan and curious about the process, you know.
In the title for this piece, second line on high, is like the energy coming from it seems kind of, you know, for me it seems kind of like, you know, festive, or like almost a ceremony
for me.
But it was like uplifting, and for me I had like kind of a feel of like maybe like even a spiritual feel of like maybe a New Orleans, you know, funeral or something, you know. That's why I call it second line on high.
And you know, and I get that feel like it's a parade or some type of paying homage to somebody, but most definitely fantastic movement. I love it. Chuck, are you here? Can somebody send Chuck a message for me and tell him turn his mic on? Let's talk about ancient presence for me while we're waiting on Chuck to get situated. Because what I've noticed, this is still very colorful, but more of a muted palette, but it still evokes the same creamy texture and butter-like texture that you talked about.
Yeah. I love, you know, like I said, I love mixing colors, and I like bold, bright colors. But I spent some time when I was living in New York, in upstate New York, and I would like look at a lot of like Hudson Valley painters, you know, and they had a way of muting colors, you know, and giving like a mystical feel to it. So I kind of, you know, I think I kind of picked up on some of that, because I have to beat back the saturation sometimes, like when there's like really bright colors, you know. So I'll beat it back sometimes with some neutral colors or something like that. And with this painting here, it was just you know, it was enjoyable to start, because I just like hit it with the background. I added some techniques of removal, of addition and removal. And I also call it a process of, I approach painting as collage. I did a lot of collage work in the past. So when I paint in layers, almost collage layers. I'll even scrape the paint back off of the palette. I call it paint skin, you know, and collage it right back into the canvas, you know, because the paint costs money.
A lot of it.
And I want to throw it away. So I have a pretty raw approach, you know, because a lot of my feelings and emotions are pretty raw anyway. You know, so I might as well get it out. So I get it out, you know, on the canvas. And that's the way I approach life, and that's the way it comes at me. Nice. Because I believe as artists, we have a certain super hypersensitivity to reality. You know?
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
You know, because we just like feel reality differently, deeper, you know, and we see nature differently, you know, and I think that's why we do what we have to do, you know. Yeah. And there's one piece in here, you know, and it just happened to be that this piece is in the show down at in Philadelphia, because today the day that the show I Can Do That, remember I Can Do That, Dawn?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I came down early and I was walking around Philadelphia taking some pictures, right? So there's a piece of a picture. So I'll even add like a piece of a collage into like an abstract painting, and it's still an abstract, you know? So there's a piece of a photograph that I put in there, because I take all my own photographs, that I put in there, and it just happened to be a couple blocks from where the gallery is at.
Oh,
From
wonderful.
where the gallery is at in this piece, you know?
Wow.
And the title of the piece, Ancient Presence, is that part of that, you know, neo-African spirituality, you know, that I, you know, kind of that I practice because of those shapes and those colors are like DNA, African DNA, you know, that
absolutely.
That I put into there, because I didn't like live there, so like I reference it. It doesn't really have a meaning except that we reference it, and it all has to do with uplifting our life, you know, in the presence. So
fantastic piece. Chuck, I'm not done with you yet, Femi.
Okay.
Chuck, you ready? All right, Al and Femi, how important, because I know you guys are big into giving back to the community and helping other artists. How important is mentorship and supporting other artists and giving back to the community? How important is that as artists? Either one, either is for you or Al, either one.
All right, well, Femi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
I can.
we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, I got my headset on now. So, all right, so check it out. Here's how important and how valuable the mentoring part is to all, you know, to making art, to having artists connect with other artists. How important this is. All right. My motions, my steps, and my latitudes that I had approached or attained in my life, getting here as an artist, did not just come from my own ambition. There was something else that happened along the way. Like I said before, when I was 14, no, excuse me, when I was 9 years old, I was in a art school poster contest, and I won for my district. Now, what happens is somebody discovered the children, the winner of each district. There were, I think, 10 or more of us got a chance to have your artwork in an exhibition at the Whitney Museum in 1970.
Oh, wow.
Okay, one of the judges of this exhibition, or I should say the panelist in this exhibition, was Romare Bearden. Romare Bearden introduced my mother and my father were the only two Blacks that were invited to this thing for this opening. And of course, they linked up. Of course, they talked. And of course, I tried to do a couple of workshops with Romy, I call him Romy, but Mr. Romare Bearden, in his studio. I had that opportunity to work with him. But you see, as great as that man was, he found the time to work with another artist because he felt that he would learn something from that artist. And that has carried me all the way through my life right now, because up to the present, I just did a lecture at the Whitehall High School in Allentown, I believe. And before I knew it, there were these students had 10 of my paintings in their gallery hall, and each of them had to write something, about what they feel, what their understanding of, and so on. But again, it's really about making that connection from one artist to another. You have to be willing to share, because in sharing, you can, you never know. You may be able to not only change that other person's life, but or help them to find a way to change something in their life, but also something changes within you.
Absolutely. Well, you've most definitely been a very viable part of my art life. I had the pleasure of creating in our studio while I was in Philly for the I Can Do That show. And the energy in his studio was just absolutely amazing. And to be there with that energy and to look out at Danny's mural across the street was just quite awesome. And I've been looking for that feeling ever since. And I call it the piece that I did, the Philadelphia experience. It was just the awesome, a very awesome creative session. Femi, what's your take on mentoring and being supportive to other artists?
Well. It means quite a bit. It means quite a bit to me because I didn't have it. I didn't have it when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, what I did have, I had that early experience with with art in school. But as far as in the community, as far as in the community, I didn't really know of any working artists.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a family of singers.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in families, good singers. I mean, good singers. My mom performed at the Apollo. My sister sang in bands and stuff like that. And
Okay.
so the art things that was that were going on around. I just and I call it a two-way street because it's not like I'm saying it wasn't there.
Right.
But it means a lot to me. The community in art, means means a lot to me. I like going to all of local shows. I've done quite a bit of curating in the area. When I moved back to the Valley here about going on 12 years ago, one of the first things I did was I was a curator at a local gallery for a couple of years. So I got to know a lot of the local artists by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lot of local art by doing that. So it means it means a lot to me. I remember about 5 years ago introducing Al to Allentown, and we became good friends.
Nice.
We became good friends. I don't know what he saw in it, but he saw enough to kind of move this way, and it's good, and it's good. Locally, I've done some summer camps for the museum.
Okay.
For the arts, some with the art school. I like once in a while doing like open studios, inviting kids here, and a lot of opportunities that I've had, a lot of opportunities that we have is just from word of mouth.
Yeah. Do you have anything currently going on or in the near future?
Yeah, right now I have. I'm sitting here with like 22 pieces that I have for a show that's coming up in 2 weeks at a local college, Cedar Crest College. Actually, the title of that show is Marks of Existence, which is going to be a good show. So I just sent them the images of everything for the catalog that they're going to do for the show. Okay. I actually there's another show that's closing next week that I curated for Black History Month at an art house. There's a few local artists that I have in there. Al was one of them. Local artists that I have. Beresford Booth is another artist that I have in the show. And
like Beresford a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beresford
and Chuck, and Chuck Stonewall. So so I got an opportunity. To do that. And I have the show that's going on in Philadelphia. The Brothers Johnson.
Right.
The Brothers Johnson. And I also have. I just sent some information and some writing in for two publications that I'm going to be in. Okay. One of them is a book that the Petrucci Foundation is doing of African American artists, and another one is Tribe magazine.
Ah, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
Tribe
I got in
magazine.
on
So,
that Tribe magazine
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So there's a couple of publications coming
yeah,
out, and
nice.
there's some other things. There's some other things cooking for later on this year. So
Okay. All right. Well, it's been quite a pleasure. Chuck, we want to get you put in the rotation, but you're here. So let's just jump right in, Chuck, and let's talk about your technique.
My technique. Done my most recent work. I started working on old mattress fabric.
Wow, really?
Yeah. When I was a child, we used to sleep on mattresses that were blue and white striped.
I remember those.
Yeah, and when I was in DC at a flea market, this guy was selling a huge bolt of it, and I thought, I'm going to buy that. I might use it sometime. This was 30 years ago when I was in DC, and I just started using it the last couple of years. It sat in my studio in storage for years, and I pulled it out. And I'm going to start working on this, and I love the way the paintings look. You know, when the mattress fabric got wet, it would kind of create a nap in the fabric, and I like that. You can't see it, you know, through photographs, but you have to see the painting in the flesh and realize, oh, you know, I like the texture and all. But anyway, that's how that got started. But I like to go through series. I paint so fast and I paint so much that instead of titling the paintings, I have to title the series and then number the paintings.
Wow. Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So but, how long have you been painting though?
I've been painting all my life.
Did you know that was what you wanted to do, is being a professional artist?
You know, my parents used to joke about the fact that when I was like 4 and 5 or 3 and 4, most kids would throw a tantrum because they couldn't get their way or whatever, but I would throw a tantrum because I couldn't find a pencil. And I love to draw on the walls.
Oh, wow.
That was my favorite place to draw is on the walls.
Was it because of the texture of the wall, maybe?
No, I remember floral wallpaper.
Okay.
And somehow a line drawing on top of floral paper. I was just excited about that at that early age.
Nice. Well, that was one of the reasons why your work went so well, was because your line work is just fantastic. And out of the 6 elements that makes a good piece of abstract art, your line work just blows that off the meter. Wow. So I'm glad that you were brought in on board with this, and that you've had a nice collector collect your work since you've been in the art group, you know. So that's been a good thing. So I know you and I had talked just on the surface a little bit about some demographic challenges as far as how are you handling that now?
Don, you know, I've gotten to the point I don't even call myself a Memphis artist because Memphis is not the city to be a Black abstract painter. I am totally ignored here.
Yeah, I feel you. We've talked, like I said, we have some of the similar views and challenges. You know, so how are you handling that though? You just kind of diverting around Memphis, or?
Yes.
Okay, so you're keeping your show on the road.
Yes, absolutely. I have a gallery in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Okay.
A gallery in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I have a gallery here. But so far as trying to connect with Memphis and the Memphis people, I don't do that. You know, it's kind of a waste of time. I still have a lot of connections in Washington, D.C. So, you know, Memphis is not the center of the art world, so why even bother?
Yeah. So what has been your biggest accomplishment, do you think you found out of your career?
Oh, Don, that's a hard question. I don't know if you know it or not, but I worked for the Pentagon for 23 years.
Yeah, I saw that only when I was looking at your CV. I didn't know that. So you got quite a resume.
I was an officer in the military, in the Army, before I started working at the Pentagon.
Okay.
I've taught at 5 different colleges and universities. And
so you got quite some successes then.
Well, yeah, I guess you might say that. And, you know, I also have other hobbies. Don, I'm one of the few. I think it's like 3 black bonsai.
Oh, trust me, Chuck, that was already on my notes, honey, to talk about that bonsai garden. That was the next question. So let's talk about the bonsai garden.
There are only 3 in the country, black bonsai masters in the country, and I'm one of them.
Love it, love it.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I want to travel. I want to see your garden as well as your studio, because I've seen a couple that you've posted, but beautiful, beautiful work, folks. Beautiful, beautiful work. So how do you feel your art has influenced that? Or are those 2 separate entities for you?
Okay, there's a lot of rules in bonsai. In bonsai, you have to use odd numbers, 1, 2, and then 3, 5, 7, 9. You can put those many trees in a pot. You can have those many branches on a tree. And when I'm doing color in my paintings, I use odd numbers. 3 of the same color here, 3 of the same color there, 5 of the same color here. I never use even numbers, like 2 whites on the painting. Never. It's always 3. I like to keep that Japanese way of thinking. Odd numbers, and the eye doesn't rest if you use odd numbers.
So do you find that culture, the Japanese culture, has influenced the art as well as the bonsai?
Well, in a way, yeah. My nephew says I'm more a Buddhist than anything. You know, I like people calm and quiet and beauty and serenity, and I try to convey that in my work. If that
Absolutely. Can we get Chuck's images up real quick so we can talk about those images that I pulled out earlier? Because there were because I wanted to talk more about your Roll With Me series. Like, how did you come up with that as a title for your series?
I like to make templates, you know, because a lot of the shapes are the same. And somehow I found this big round circular piece of plexiglass that had a hole in the center. Yeah. And you can see where I use those round shapes.
Yes.
Paintings. I like to use templates, like the triangles and the squares and all. You know, those are templates that I make, and I just lay them down and draw around.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I really see, so to the right of this is the mattress fabric you were talking about? Is all of this mattress fabric?
Yes. You see the little part?
Because I can tell from the line. Yeah. Wow. Chuck, this is absolutely amazing to me.
Yeah, that's it. I like to keep a little bit of the mattress fabric showing.
You know, I call your work wondrous layers of complete wonder, because you don't know if it's wood, you don't know if it's a painting, you just don't know from a picture and what it is. So I love this.
Yeah. Well,
no, go ahead, Chuck.
A lot of people see the work and go, oh, I like your fabric collages. They're not collages, they're paintings.
Right, they're paintings.
They're not collages, they're paintings.
So you have to find yourself educating folks about how to even view your work, and to even, I don't know even what to call it. Yes. You know, I could see how that can be an obstacle for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's talk about the Off the Grid series. What brought that about?
Don, I've been using the grid to start painting since 2016. Before then, my paintings were, I guess you'd call them botanical abstractions.
Okay.
Because I love to garden. I love to work in the garden. I love the shape of leaves and flowers and things. And my paintings were based on the shapes of different leaves and flowers, and I would overlap the images and then paint. And it was a nice series, very nice series. I did well with those. But my sister passed in 2016.
Okay, sorry.
And thank you. And I took about 6 months off after her death. We had to settle her estate, get her house sold and get her house cleaned out and all. And I didn't paint. I was just not in the mood to paint. But one day I decided I need to get back into the studio. This was like after 6 months or so. And when I got back in the studio, I couldn't think of anything to do. I didn't want to do botanical abstractions anymore. So the first thing I did was lay down a grid.
Hmm.
The rest is history.
I see.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Very sentimental story that goes along with this 11 Off the Grid series.
Yeah.
Again,
So,
line work, the colors, just fantastic work. I posed this question to Al and Femi J. How important do you find mentoring or making connections with other artists?
oh, that's a great question. I loved teaching. I taught for 15 years at the University of Memphis. And once I decided to quit teaching when COVID hit, and even before I quit teaching, I love to mentor young Black artists.
Mhm.
I love it. I love
Mhm.
making connections with young artists.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care about the fortune and fame and all that. I just want to help young Black
Mhm.
artists.
Yeah.
And that's what I do to this day. Right now, I mentor probably 5 people. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome,
Yeah.
Chuck.
Yeah. And we
Nice.
meet in my studio. We talk about work. We have sort of a critique. They bring their most recent work and we talk about their art, where they're going, what you're doing.
Mhm.
So
That's
yeah,
most
that's
definitely needed because you have a lot. I was one of those artists at first. I didn't know what was going on. I just jumped right in.
right.
And I've learned so much just from having these types of conversations from
Right.
artists. And
Right.
between you, Femi J, and Al, the amount of wisdom, artistic wisdom amongst you guys is just phenomenal.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yeah, because you guys are dynamic together, and your work fits in perfectly with their work and their styles.
Right.
And because at first I was not really saying I was concerned, but I didn't know how it was going to look
Right.
with everybody being, so different as far as their types of abstract work. But
Right.
once all the work got to the gallery and I took a look at it, this is like a perfect fit. What's the largest piece you have?
The largest piece I have is about 72 by.
Can you show it to us? Can you flash it on us? I know it's a little messy in there, but
It's behind a million paintings. Can you see that?
wow, that is huge.
Can you see the stack of paintings?
Yeah.
Okay. It's behind there, and there are paintings
Okay.
here, and there are paintings here, and there are paintings here. So it's hidden behind something. It would take an hour to get it out.
Oh no, it's okay. I get the hint.
And there are paintings there. They're all over the place. Yeah.
Nice.
And this is what I'm working. You see these? This is what I'm in the process of working on now.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that yellow is so awesome. That yellow is really nice.
Well, my color palette was getting so similar and predictable that I wanted to do colors that I don't normally use in yellow.
That
Yeah,
works,
so
Chuck. That works very well.
So that's
Yeah,
why
I like that. I like that. What are some essential things you need in your studio to work? Is it like a ritual, or do you just like go in and just do whatever you're going to do, or do you think about what you need in place to work?
No, I don't think about the work much. When I'm going to start a new painting, I don't even think of what it's going to do or what it's going to be. Just pick my templates and start working.
Yeah, and whatever comes up, comes out.
Whatever comes up. Yes.
Yeah, and whatever comes up, comes out. That's how I work too.
And I look at it almost like a job. I get up in the morning, I make my coffee, and I'll eat a biscuit or something for breakfast, and I head to the studio.
Okay.
Yeah, it's it's something I have to do every day.
So you work every day. You work on something every day.
Single day. I even paint Christmas morning.
Oh wow.
I even paint on Christmas. Yes.
I love it. So the passion is most definitely there.
It's there, yes.
Yeah. So do you have any favorite pieces?
Every piece I finish is my favorite piece.
That's how I'm like that too.
Yes.
I don't love anyone more than the other at all. Yeah.
And I don't get attached to pieces that I can't sell it. No. I do so many and so much that, on with the next one.
So you said you were working on something new. You have any shows for those new pieces coming up, or you're just working?
I have a show at the Dixon Museum here, opening April 28th and runs through July 5th.
Okay.
And I have a show at my gallery here, El Ross, that opens May 28th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So you
runs.
got some things on deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you find more freedom with you doing the abstracts that you're doing now versus the botanical ones? Because I guess when you're doing the botanical, you have to still keep them, I guess, anatomically correct, the plants. So do you find more freedom with this type of abstract?
Not necessarily. When I was doing the botanical works, I still work with templates. I would take a leaf or something and do a stencil of it, and I could repeat it over and over and over.
Okay. Okay.
Every leaf shape, every flower shape. And I also, I have a bunch of books about floral shapes and all that I use. So, I wouldn't say there's any more freedom now than it was before.
Okay.
Yeah, I always figure out a way to do it easy.
Right. Yeah. Are there any artists that you're inspired by, living or dead?
MacArthur Binion.
Mm-hmm.
James Little, Kerry James Marshall, which is work I love. Yeah.
I was just looking at one of his pieces. I was watching the Toni Morrison documentary the other day, and they have a piece of his work in that documentary.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because the next day I saw somebody else had to post about that same piece. Yeah. So his name is back buzzing again.
Yeah. Yeah. Believe it or not, not only just abstract painters, I'm influenced by a lot of realists.
Okay.
Because I was a photorealist in graduate school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing Kehinde Wiley before he was probably in kindergarten, and I was doing Kehinde Wiley. Yes.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Ahead of your time. You were ahead of your time.
If you look through my old Facebook posts, you can see some of my realist paintings.
I most definitely want to check them out too. So where else can people follow you? Are you on Instagram? Where can people follow you and see more of your work?
I'm on Instagram and I am on Facebook.
Okay, what's your Instagram name?
Oh, gee, just type in my name and it'll pull up. I don't remember.
Pull up Chuck Johnson. Just pull up Chuck Johnson, folks.
Yeah. And you
what about a website? What's your website?
My website is chuckjohnsonart.com.
Okay, Chuck Johnson.
And you need to look at that to see some of my botanicals.
Yeah, because I didn't know. I'm really curious to see what that would even look like. Actually.
Yeah. Go to my website, chuckjohnsonart.com.
I most definitely will. You've inspired me because I've been trying to. I have a solo show coming up in May.
Oh, great. I love your work, though.
Thank you. And I've been trying to I used to go really hard in the studio. And so I'm a little slower now.
Yeah.
But I think working every day will help not make it seem like so much work that I have to do. So I'm going to steal that from you and try to do something every single day to get this going. Because I don't want to lose my zest for the art life. Sitting up waiting too long,
Yeah.
You don't use it, you'll lose it.
Yeah. But I'm fortunate enough to have my studio right 10 steps from my back door.
Yeah.
So I can get up at 1:00 in the morning if I have it.
Yeah, I work out of my home too. So
yeah.
So I've been doing good with working, but I want to get more diligent, and disciplined, I guess. Like how you are. How you are. But that's that military. That's that military background too, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
You should talk with Chris Van Loan. There's a for veterans, there is some art database just for veterans. That I know another lady, she's done rather well with selling. So I would ask Chris about that and see if you can get some stuff online with him and with that organization. It certainly wouldn't hurt.
Can you give him my email address?
Yeah, Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
I'll get with them and have them get with you. I'll do
Okay,
that.
yeah, that sounds good.
Yep, I got you.
Sounds good.
All right, well,
Yeah.
Chuck, I'm going to end it here. I'm glad we were able to get this going and get you in the fold because I was sitting there waiting on you. And I kept calling your name.
And I kept hearing you.
All right, Chuck. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will be in touch very soon, my friend.
Done. One more thing.
Yes.
You know, I really appreciate you including me in the show. I thought it was a brilliant show. And I thought the
I thought that was very brilliant. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just brilliant.
Yeah. The work went so well together. That you can Danny did a great job birthing this baby of his.
Yeah.
Great. It was an awesome idea. Awesome idea.
Yeah.
The world deserves to see your work. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
And Don, keep my name out there.
It's too late. You're stuck with me, Chuck. You stuck with me, Chuck. For real. That's about 10 of y'all. Whenever I've been that corner, you guys got to be in that corner with me. This is like that. We're family. Exactly. We're family now.
Yes, we are.
We are family. And that's just the bottom line. And so my infamous line is you guys, the Johnson brothers, are not related by family, folks, but most definitely related in art. Most definitely. Exactly. So bravo to you. I love your work. I've been a fan since day one. And one of these days, I plan on purchasing some work. Trust me.
Don, I don't know if I can say this now, but you tell Shawnette to send you one of those 12 by 12s.
Oh, Chuck, bless you. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, my token of mine.
My day.
Appreciation.
I will. All right. Have a great day. Get that studio cleaned up, and I'll talk with you soon. So I want to thank everybody. Again, I want to thank Rush Arts for having me on board as the curator and the moderator. A huge shout out to Danny, Noah, and CVL for creating the Black Abstract Artists Group. And where can people follow you guys online? Where can people see some more of your work?
You can follow me on Instagram. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter. Femi J.J. or Femi J.Johnson.
All right. Al, where can people follow you?
And there's Al Johnson Art on Instagram, Al Johnson and Al Johnson Art and Al Johnson Art Studio and Al Johnson, never mind, on Facebook.
You'll find it everywhere, folks.
My website. You want that?
Sure, throw it out.
Okay, it's aljohnsontheartist.com.
All right, folks. And you can follow me at Art by D String on Instagram or Dawn Stringer on Facebook. And make sure you guys follow Rush Arts Philly. We got a lot of things going on and we're rushing forward. Let's get it. Have a good day, everybody.
All right. Peace.
Peace.